Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Crossing Realms Together with your host, Laura Van Tyne and Reverend Rob Lee. How are you, Miss Laura? What's happening?
I'm excellent, thank you. More important, how are you?
I
We're,
am good.
we're
Tired
talking
from the
earlier.
move.
We're both a little low energy today, but you know what? We bounce back easy.
Exactly.
Cheers.
Exactly. So, we, as a lot of people will know, I told everybody we were moving. The move went good. We're all in. Everything's happening. Now we're in the unpacking stage. So, and I think Gillian, I'm getting that wife nod, of that. Oh, thank you, babe. God, I wish she'd not unpack that, because I'm like, I want to get the boxes out, and the boxes just wind up laying, okay, I'm going to put it on the shelf. You can sort it out, but it's all unpacked.
Yeah.
And so the
Okay.
shelves are now like a mess.
I'll give you
So,
an eye
yeah,
roll for Jillian for me on that one, okay?
yeah. Absolutely. So that's what we're
Oh
doing.
man.
But it's beautiful and everything else. So we had
Mhm.
our first snow, not our first snow. We had snow at Christmas, but just it was like a 1 day thing. But now it's been cold with this thing. We had a first good snow a couple of days ago. It's beautiful, and I love it. That's why we
No,
moved here.
it's
So,
definitely different than Florida. The wind chill factor is a little different, right?
yeah. It's funny. I was talking to Bruce and Bridget and the other day, and it's like, oh, it's down in the 50s and the 40s, and hitting the 30s, and I'm laughing, And I
Right.
think
That's
the
what we
day it's tonight it's going down to 21 with a wind chill of 11 or of 1, and tomorrow night it's going down to 18 or 17 with the wind chill. It's the wind that's killing us up here. Other than that, the
get that.
cold's really not too
I
bad.
grew up on the west side of Lake Michigan, and it was the wind chill factor, right? Which is
Right.
what it was. Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, we're going to be talking about adding to your spiritual tool belt tonight.
Absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful topic that everybody needs to know with what's going on, because I think a lot of people, and I see people coming through the door. If you want to say hi, post. I'm not getting any posts yet. So, which I find, are you seeing any posts on your side?
I've got one person here.
Okay. I've got Tootie.
So,
Okay.
yeah. And so, anyways, I know we've been off for, it seems like forever, by the way,
Right.
just
Right. It
forever.
does.
So,
It really does. And we only missed 1 week.
I know.
So, but here
Time is
we go. And
slow
I
now.
think this is a great thing. And if anybody wants a reading or something like that, let me know. We'll take a look. We can pop that in and make it work. But yeah, so I think it's important with everything we've got going on and everything that we've got coming up, whether you feel it's a spiritual warfare or if it's just your own spirit, if you're feeling beat up, these are all tools you need to put in your tool belt no matter what happens.
Even
You
if you
know?
just feel like the energy around you is heavy,
Yes,
and there's plenty of that to go around, right?
absolutely. Okay, there we go. Now the room just flooded.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, so let's see who all's here. Venus, good to see you. Hello, guys. I finally made it here to catch you live. Good to see you, Venus. Nice to see you, Gillian. Hey, baby doll, what's happening? Donna, hi, Laura, Rob, everyone. Everybody
Hey
saying hi.
guys.
Arcana House in the house. There we go. Tony,
Space
hello.
Cadet
Good to
Lottie
hear
from the
from you.
UK.
What's that?
Space Cadet Lottie from the UK.
Space Cadet Lottie. Where is that one? I didn't see it.
She's in the UK. She's on my
Oh,
channel probably. I've known her for years.
oh,
Great,
okay.
great
I
friend,
love the name. From the
right?
UK. There we go. Monica, good to see you. And I have my deer tribe come every morning to eat in my yard. There we go. That was it. Man, speaking of deer and all that, guys, we moved. Last night we came home late. I was out shooting some pool. Gillian
Not
went with
here.
me and pulled in and right in the front yard. Big old white-tailed deer. Okay. So that we got all the animals, things are going. And then this afternoon, when the sun started going down, deer, 3 of them, a family just coming right through the yard. Boom, boom, boom. Wow. I'll take that any day of the week. Any day of the week. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I've
So,
got a couple little groupings around here. Got a couple of mama and baby sets. I think they're about yearlings now, and they troll around and do their little deer thing, and it's fun to watch them. I've got a trail camera set up just because we can watch them at night. I caught one DPing on my trail camera.
Oh, wow.
I'll have
Okay.
to pull that up next week. So, you know what? Being around nature is being around God in many ways. And
And you know what? I was going to say, what a perfect timing and conversation for this, because these are things that are in our tool belt. Is
yeah,
it not? They
yeah.
help calm us. They help us reconnect. And so, I mean, what do you think? Hello from Oregon. There we are.
Yes. Hey,
Hi,
Crystal. Hey,
Crystal.
Deborah. Yeah. So, we talk about adding to our spiritual tool belt. What we're really talking about is what resources do we have that we can utilize? And a lot of these can be visualization techniques. Our
Yes.
minds are probably our most powerful asset, right? People say it's the heart. I think it's the mind, because this is a creative center here where thoughts become things, and be careful of thoughts becoming things at the same time. It's a double-edged sword. And so when we talk about this, it's no different than kind of growing your 3D assets, right? So when you are home, you lock your door, but if you have a safety lock, you bolt the safety lock. It's adding layers of this. And I like to say that, we kind of like when we go out in public or when we're out and about, we dress appropriately for the most part, right?
Right.
I'm not going to wear, a bathing suit over at your house this time of year. I wouldn't do it anyways. I wouldn't
No,
want to scare everybody. But
don't kill the fantasy. It's all right. Go ahead.
but because it's layers, right? It's layer upon layer.
Right.
And so think of it this way. And when we talk about these spiritual practitioners, and they say, you got to do this and this and this and this and this, and then you got to do this, you got to add this. It's overwhelming. And then what happens is we freeze up and we forget under those like spiritual crises. So this is a really good time, especially this is the new year, just to take some moments and figure out, what do I have in my spiritual tool belt that's working for me or not? Because what works today may not work tomorrow. What worked 10 years ago may not work today. 10 years ago, I was like, oh my God, removing ghosts are so hard.
Yes.
I can laugh at that. Maybe it's 20 years ago. I don't know. And now I'm dealing with voice to skull technology and all these other things. And it's like, holy cow. So we got to keep changing and ebbing and flowing. And just work on meditation. If you have a tough time meditating, don't push it, but just try to relax and sink into it. So a lot of times people think they should sit in the lotus position for 3 hours or whatever. No,
No,
you
not
can
at all.
meditate doing the dishes.
Exactly. You know what? Everything I do when I tell people, whether it's meditation, mindfulness, in any type of exercise, 20 minutes, 20
Yeah,
minutes. Our mind can't handle 30 minutes or a half hour because the word hour comes in. If I tell you, hey, get up 20 minutes early, you're a little more receptive. If I say get up a half hour early, it's not happening. And folks, one of the things you need to know, like what Laura was just saying, that you need to understand, meditation, contemplation, a lot of these things are where we can strengthen our mind. And this is one of the places, and Laura, it was a good lead in for this, of where I use tarot. It helps draw my attention on a focus. When I sit down at my desk with my coffee at our table in the morning, Gillian sits across from me and we're running cards. Okay. A lot of times I will just be flipping cards and, I get a card and let's go here. I'll just pull one. We'll just use one. And these are small tools that you can use even through tarot. All right. So like if the hanged man comes up, all right, I can sit there now and just contemplate and say, okay, spirit, talk to me. What are you trying to tell me? That as I go through the day, I may need to change my perspective about some things. What does that mean? And I think that's where we miss a lot of we think these tools have got to be these clairvoyant, psychic medium, contacting,
right.
and it doesn't have to be that crazy? What do you think?
The more simple we keep it, the more effective they are, and it does help enhance our psychic abilities, our intuition, and I say this all the time, intuition is our most profound psychic ability. When we can tune into our intuition, we're connecting to God, to the divine, to source, whatever you want to call it. And I always, 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 and everybody that knows me here, it's all about vetting who or what you're communicating with. Even if you think you're communicating with God, you're going to take a moment and look through a lens of discernment to make sure you're dealing with the real archangel or the real whatever.
Right.
So if something feels off, don't discount that. Those are your spidey senses happening. And I like to use salt. So salt cleanses in all dimensions, and we can literally stop and visualize salt being poured around me, around the airwaves, around my home, whatever it is. I do not have the right to do this to you without your permission.
Correct.
And you can add frankincense and myrrh into that salt mixture. This is just a mind tool. That's all it is. But sometimes we have to ground it with the 3D physical too. Crystals are a good example, right? So if we have crystals have jobs.
Yes.
They might look pretty and all, but they have jobs and they absorb a lot of energies. That's why I never use, I don't have one here. I never use a pendulum with a crystal on it, because crystals pick up energy way too fast and they get fogged up or mucked up. I prefer brass. This is brass. It doesn't take as long to, yeah, exactly. Brass, wood are really good ones, but the crystals can muck it up, skew your results. The other thing, if we can talk about pendulums for a minute.
Oh, I've got a desk full, and I do
Yeah.
use the crystals and different all types, because the reason I have several is I will say, okay, what's speaking to me? What frequency do I need to use? What does spirit want me to do and tune into?
You have several. You're not using the same crystal one over and over.
And that's what I'm saying is you're right.
We gotta clear our crystals. We can clear our crystals with frankincense oil, with sunlight, with salt. Just putting them in take a little tiny bowl and fill it with salt and put the crystal on top of the salt or in the salt. That will help. But what will happen is that they pick up energies and they skew our results.
Yes.
So one way to tell if your pendulum is contaminated is to run it over 24 karat gold. Think of the gold standard. So if you run your pendulum through, right? And I've got this little dude here.
Yeah.
Through 24 karat gold and it does not come up positive, it's contaminated. It's not the end of the world. Just take a breath and say, you know what? I got to clear this. I got to clean it up.
And you can literally lay it in your hand. We like pink Himalayan. I say we, Gillian and I, pink Himalayan sea salt, rub it, all over it, things like that. Another thing you can do with crystals, and a lot of people don't think about it. Where do crystals come from? They come from the ground.
Yeah.
You can take them outside or get potting soil, something like that, and literally bury them for 24 hours, and they will cleanse back in their natural environment, in the dirt and things like that. But then throw the dirt out.
Absorb the negative energy.
Yes.
And the dirt will recycle itself, but it won't recycle in your space.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can actually cleanse the dirt by throwing it outside on the earth.
Yes. Exactly.
So yes, it's not going to waste or anything else.
And a lot of people like to clear their crystals and tools under the moonlight.
Yes.
I prefer sunlight. And here's why. It's a primary source. Moonlight is secondary. But not everything can be cleared under a sunlight because it will fade or just change. So kind of figure out what do you want to do. But I like sunlight over moonlight because I want the gusto. I want to go to the primary source. But rose quartz, amethyst, those things don't do well under sunlight.
No, and that again, but let's talk rose quartz. That's about love. That's about harmony. That's the heart.
Softer energy.
Those are those things. So therefore, with moonlight being considered the feminine energy, Okay. And sunlight being the masculine energy, it's about setting your intentions. We do moon water, in the full moon, things like that. We will set water out. But again, any tool you use, it comes back. And you and I have talked about this a lot. Okay. And I hate beating a dead horse, but anything you use or do, the most important key is your intention
Correct.
of what you want to accomplish or what you want to do.
Yeah. And how does your intention impact those around you? That's the
Right.
other aspect, especially when we talk about manifestation, right? I want certain things. How does it impact those around me? It may or may not be relevant, but that's something to keep going, thinking about. And looking at, I kind of want to go back a minute. And as this Donna's here,
Okay.
using redstone to communicate with spirit guides. I'll tell you, frankly, that's a great question, Donna. I don't think you necessarily need a stone or a widget to connect to your guides,
I agree.
because if you do, how do you know what you're connecting to?
The stones, I use them for my own, like, all right, here is a piece of, it's a selenite
Hmm.
with amethyst attached to it. Selenite will amplify
Yes.
the frequency of whatever it is in the mix of or whatnot. So Donna, we're not saying you're wrong, okay? But I keep amethyst, lapis lazuli, and crystal, like right here in my hand. Lemurian crystal is great. Different things, and amethyst, because those are big connectors between throat chakra, communication, third
Yeah.
eye chakra, and your crown chakra. And it's not so much about the spirit. Again, it's about helping you to be receptive to what spirit has to say. Did
And
that make sense?
it does. Yes, it makes perfect sense. And Donna's also talking about dowsing rods. So what we're talking about, using any form of tool to communicate with spirit, we don't need the tool. We have it within ourselves. And dowsing rods are fascinating. So I will use dowsing rods to look for ley lines, the
Right.
Earth's magnetic grid lines. And you don't need it to find a spirit or a ghost or angel, whatever, because what we want to do with a dowsing rod is, people use them to douse for water too, right? You set your attention, like, where's the water, and they'll fold up, they'll open up. I use them
We
for
have
ley
two
lines.
sets of copper dowsing
Yeah.
rods, and they don't have to be copper. I just find copper, it's an energy conductor,
Yeah.
and copper is very good for that. So
I
that,
will
yeah.
use copper as a tool. So I'll use the dowsing rods to find ley lines, the negative ley lines. So these entities will travel through ley lines. So that might be where the spiritual practitioner is coming from. And it's the dark side, the light side doesn't need a ley line to come and go, but the dark entities do.
Right.
So having said that, what is that person communicating with is a big question. If you have to use a dowsing rod to find the ley line, to find the entities. Um, so it's complicated, but not. I'll use them to find the ley lines. And then if we have, especially if there's an intersection of banker lines or anything else, we can close them up so that the dark entities stop flowing through my property lines. And I use copper rods for this. And I'm going to try to illustrate this. So if anybody has a negative ley line running through their property, and you will know this if you feel like there's this energy current going through your property, and they can be in apartments and everything else. You can do this if you have an
Yep.
apartment. Take copper rods. Okay. Go to the Home Depot, whatever plumbing department, and buy the roll of copper plumbing tubing. Cut them in about 18-inch pieces. And you're going to take 2 of them and you're going to fold them so that they're kind of like this, okay? And then you're going to bang them into the ground with a mallet. But I'm going to bang one into the ground with a mallet. And as I do it, it's going to open up to about a 90-degree angle. I'm going to do the same thing to the other one, and they're going to intersect and touch here on the ground. You do this, and it stops the flow. It's a very simple tool and technique. And I'll tell you, I had a business organization that had gray alien activity, and they're on their video cameras, the gray aliens. They were Zeta Reticuli, and they were coming and going, and they were using the ley lines and a portal that they created in the wall. And so we did this around the entire property, and it was a business area, and it was a public area, so we had to you want to bury the copper rods also because it helps, but hide them and look like we're not doing weird things. But the minute we sealed up that property with these copper tubes, they went away. It's been 2 or 3 years now. They've not had an issue. So, and they do help veggies grow. Yes, Leanne. So there's something about them. So if you have detrimental energies, you may want to take some dowsing rods, learn how to use them, and figure out if you've got negative ley lines going on your property, and then use the copper tubing trick.
And folks, here's the key thing. And Laura and I both want you to understand this very well. We're not saying don't use crystals. We're not saying don't use stones. We're not saying don't. But remember, you will take a hammer and lay it on a piece of property, okay? And you would not look at that hammer and go, build me a house. You pick up the hammer, you pick up the various accessories, and you build the house you want. The energy that's exerted is from you. You have tools. Crystals are tools. And I want people to understand, even with tarot, they are tools. I have had decks I dearly loved. All right. And you will hear people, don't touch my decks. Those people worry me to begin with, because when I'm sitting with you, okay, I may do the dealing, or I may go, spirit may call me and say, you know what, have them pull it. There you go, pull it. And if I accidentally drop a deck in the water, okay, oh, that sucks. Now I got to go buy another deck. It is a tool, okay? And the minute somebody gets so possessive that the cards are telling me, and y'all will hear me say when I'm doing readings, and this is prayer, this is your intuition. It is merely another tool for me to channel and talk to spirit, God, whatever, because he can give me a picture. And I go, oh, okay. And it's a clarification tool. We need you to understand your intuition and everything we're telling you about these tools, they're tools. Okay. If you break one of your crystals, it sucks. You can bury them in the ground, reuse them, but you can go buy another one. Okay. You can go find another one. It is about you, your intention, and that connection with source. We are the magical beings. We were given this stuff to use. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I've seen so many people who've been so hardcore married to their cards. That's the problem.
Yes.
When you become, Space Cadet Lizer, yep, you got to keep your tools clean and sharpened. But when you are so married to something like that, your vision gets fogged, your intentions get fogged. And this is when we start getting these inhabitations coming in.
Correct. Because we're literally putting our faith in something other than spirit or ourselves. We're giving this card a quality it was never meant to have.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to understand, because this pendulums, they can all be manipulated, okay? If you're not in the right spot, in the right head frame, when you're divining something, whether it be with a pendulum, whether it be with a dowsing rod, or whether it be here, if you haven't said your prayers, if you haven't gotten your head right, if you haven't gotten into that positive flow where you know what you're listening to is spirit, you can be misled by somebody else inappropriately using your tools.
And let's go back to pendulums for a moment. Never ask a pendulum a question. Make a statement, because the pendulum is measuring the energy of a statement. Questions carry emotions. Will my boyfriend love me more next week if I what, right? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
No. So my statement is am I communicating with my true, excuse me, I am communicating with Archangel Michael. Period. It's a thought. I can test it. This is one way to test. I am communicating with Archangel Michael right now. And then I discern this. If I feel like I really am and I get a yes on the pendulum, do a secondary test. Pour salt on him, pour frankincense on him. Look, if you can see him, I want you to look around him to make sure there's no glitches, that you don't have a shapeshifter or imposter. And these are really big things. I really, the question from the gallery, how can I be sure that I'm releasing bad energies and supporting the positive energies into my space? So my first rule, because I do this 7 times a day, 7 days a week, I'd love to get a day off. It's really important to never litter the ether. When we're driving down the freeway and we go through the McDonald's drive-through, I'm not going to throw my trash out on the road. This is the same concept. So if you are working on releasing negative energies, negative entities, anything with there, you're going to literally, you can create basically a hazmat type of containment field to put them into. Sounds more complicated than what it is. So when I work with somebody and we're cleaning and clearing things up, I will create a containment field. It's a visualization technique. I like tetrahedrons because geometrically speaking, they're the strongest shape we have. Bubbles are no good. How many of us in this listening have been a child before and played with bubbles? They pop easily. And so just use a containment field. Ask the archangels to help you. Bring in archangels to clean, clear, and remove any negative energies, harmful entities, and to take them to the appropriate realm of the heavens for processing. Any spiritual practitioner that says, bind them, bury them, cast them away is doing a disservice to the planet and humanity. So if I cast away a ghost, now they're your problem, Reverend Rob.
Right.
Or maybe they're Venus's problem, or maybe, they're someone else's problem. It doesn't change it doesn't change it. It just gets it away from me, or they come back to me and they're really ticked off.
Exactly. And Venus, and I want to talk about Tootie's statement here too. Venus, one of the things you talk about, like if somebody's running a polygraph, a PSA, physical stress evaluator, any of those things, there's control questions. Okay. You need to learn to use your tool. And like I said, you can't just pick this up and go, does he love me? I program my crystals. I don't go, show me your yes. Well, then that's an inanimate object telling me what to do. I will program my crystals and I will say, this is my yes. This is my no. All right. And I will give it a spin and go, this is my, it's unclear. I will spin it the other way and say, not enough information. And then I will still my pendulum and then ask, pendulum, will you work with me today? And see, I get an answer. Okay. Pendulums, tarot cards are just like any other tool. You want to calibrate them. You want to know them. You want to know how they can read differently and everything else. And Tootie, you bring up a valid point. A lot of people go, I keep hearing people, well, it was meant to be. Nothing was meant to be. Okay. Nothing is meant to be because we have been given free will. Yes, we have opportunities. We have a path that has been laid before us. Do we have to walk it? No, we don't. And you're right. That's the reason I don't do third-party readings. Does he love me? You know what? I don't know. Okay. Because again, he may love you right now at this minute while he's thinking about you, but tomorrow, when he's looking at a picture of a beautiful woman like Laura, he's not loving you for 1 minute. Okay. Things change. We change. People
And
change.
futures change, right?
Yes,
And
that's
so
and
to
Judy
use
is
a
right.
yeah, absolutely. When you look at it, you're looking at future prospects, aspects. It's actually a violation of spiritual law because we are infringing upon somebody else's right as well.
Correct. It's just like HIPAA for the spiritual.
Yeah,
You know?
I like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Arcana House using dowsing rods. Yeah, they went crazy. By the way, fun fact about cemeteries. It's usually not the dead buried ones that are in the cemeteries. It's their loved ones that are looking for them after they died.
Right.
And there's
Because
also
remember, we can trap. You and I did a show on this
yeah,
about trapping spirits where the living haunt the dead. And a lot of times the cemetery is filled with remorse and grief and anger, but it's
yeah,
not from the dead people. It's from the people that are coming to visit, and they're leaving this emotional, like you
back,
said, litter
yeah.
behind. So when you're in a cemetery, keep that in mind. You're not just tracking dead people, you're tracking everybody's energy that shed energy
And a
in
lot
that
of
cemetery.
entities reside there because they pick up that human loosh, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, and Space Cadet Lottie is talking about lucid dreaming, and the next shows up, and in that a lucid dream is you're asleep, but you're sort of awake. You know what's going on. When this happens, you can change your outcome of that lucid dream, and you can leave that lucid dream. So the ex was slightly off in her lucid dream, so she knew that it was a shapeshifter. That's a big deal. So when we sleep, we astral travel. It's really important that while we're sleeping, we are protected. You can bring in your angelic realms at night when you sleep. You can ask them to go with you. There's all kinds of things. You can run, I would use like maybe a Mozart music or something like that that's known to be high frequency. A green light at night can raise the frequency of the room you're sleeping in. There's a lot of these tools that we can use to protect ourselves in our sleep state because, entities will come after us, especially if we're doing light work. They're not going to bug somebody who's just a bump on a log.
exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing that just was given to me, Gillian, in the question from the gallery, one of the things to remember whenever we're dealing with an entity, now like Space Cadet Lottie here, and I think this is what brought it into me, you start getting that feeling, that intuition, listening to that vibe, that frequency. Is this real? Is this not real? Something feels off. When you are bringing great energy in, okay, you should feel it. You should know it. When you're moving negative stuff away, you should feel it. You should know it. If you step into a room, you're like, I don't know if that's just me, then be on the safe side. Call your angels in, call your team in, and say, I don't know what I'm feeling, but it doesn't feel right. I need your protection, and I need them to be moved back to source away from me. Okay. So
Yeah.
it is one of those things where use your intuition. If you're trying to get rid of something, but it keeps coming back, then chances are your angels, your guides, they're telling you, all right, it moves away, but you haven't gotten rid of it. Okay. Why do you keep feeling the same energy? A, have you not released it? Okay. You want it to go, but if you want it to go, then you have to release it. Okay. You can't be thinking about it all the time, wondering if it's still here. If you're giving it thought, you're giving it presence, just like a poltergeist, where it will build off of energy that you are leaving and creating. Is that making sense, Laura?
Totally. And, we have to be responsible for our own actions too. And that's exactly what you're saying. And when it comes to these beings and entities, bring in the archangels. Don't be afraid to ask for their help because they earn karma, they earn brownie points, they earn ascension themselves when they help us. But if they're just standing around twiddling their thumbs, waiting for us to do something, to ask them for something, we're wasting their time. And that's quite
Right.
criminal, by the way. Yep.
Absolutely. And again, I say this, if you're in a relationship and every morning you get up and leave, you fix your coffee, have your coffee, go listen to the news, go off to work, but you never spoke to your spouse, not because they were sleeping from working the night shift, but then you come home, okay? And the only time your spouse ever asked you or talked to you was because they were in trouble. I need your help. After a while, where's that relationship going to go? It's not going to be you have to build that kind of relationship with your guides. They want you to talk to them. Your angels want you to communicate. Spirit, God, everything, the mother, this divine feminine, they want that personal communication. And you need to start getting in that habit. And sometimes you got to get out of our own head, and say, hey, good morning,
Right.
Father, Mother, God, Spirit, you're there. You're all the same, all in one. Thank you for what you've given me. And just pause for a moment and be thankful. These are the things that you can tune into that will now, remember the old TVs when we had to get up, when Dad would say, get up, fix the TV. And you went up, you had to fine tune the dial to get the picture just right. That's how we fine tune ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that analogy. It's so accurate. Absolutely. And, and this is, as Leanne's saying, hopefully she's going to learn how to use her own pendulum, but this is all about learning.
Exactly.
And, if there's tools out there that people use, we'd love to hear from you guys too. Absolutely.
And Leanne, don't forget, in my link tree down below, I have a book, Tarot Simplified, Learn to Read Tarot in a Day. Okay. And I have so many people have said, Rob, you got to do a class. Laura said, Rob, you got to do a class. We got to put it on my channel or whatnot. I need to do that. Okay.
You need to do that. You got to stop being so busy, but so do I.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And by the way, the divine does have a sense of humor, or at least, I annoy them so much that they laugh at me. How's that?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, let's talk about a controversial subject a little bit.
Okay.
That is sage. Sage
Okay.
does not have the spiritual horsepower to remove negative entities. It just
Not
does.
on its own.
You need something else. Sage is, and I don't gain brownie points or favor a lot of times when I say this, but sage, it's got its moments. It's a very antimicrobial, antiseptic, antibiotic, which is great. We can use it in the 3D to help with cold congestions and other things like this. But sage is a bunch of dried, crispy leaves from a shrub. Now think about what Christ used. The 3 wise men, the Magi, gave him frankincense, gold, and myrrh. They did not give him a bunch of dried, crispy leaves. Why? This is a frequency issue. Frankincense and myrrh are ancient resins from very high frequency trees. There's 24 different types of frankincense species, by the way. You can also use dragon's blood resin. That's the same thing. The Catholic Church uses it to clear the churches.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
I find that to be ironic, okay? They got to clear the church of the demons before the people come in.
Right. We're the witches, but they use dragon's blood. Okay, whatever.
So anyways, but dragon's blood is another really good resin that you can use. You can use it as an oil or a resin, and you can burn it.
One of Gillian and Mai's favorite is Palo Santo.
Palo Santo is good too. Copaiba is good.
Hardwood, folks. If you want to use it, I highly recommend it. Okay, we've got sage, we've used it, but just waving sage around, it's just going to make you smell like you were hiding your dope. It's one of those things that it's the intentions. Say what you mean. You have to be the power in that situation. Sage doesn't just do it on its own, but Palo Santo is a very hard wood. So when you're using it, it's hard to keep it lit, keep something with you. So therefore, it's also hard to burn the freaking house down. Okay. So it's safer, but it's very pungent. It's a higher frequency. It's a harder wood. Like you said, it's not something that's dead. This is actually a piece of wood. So
Yeah, and it's again high frequency, very dense. So there's other tools that we can use that will be helpful, but sage just doesn't have the spiritual punch we need in these times. It just doesn't. And frankly, it's great for sausages and ceremonies. Okay. And it's
sausages and ceremonies. I think there's a book in there somewhere.
right. Sage is good for sausage and ceremonies.
Yeah, a song title at least. Skilling's like, oh crap. He'll be going around humming a song, writing a song. Sausages and ceremony,
Yeah. And so one of the things, and I actually made a post on this on my social media, I think it was last week, maybe this week, I don't remember. But you can use oregano and sage, put it in a pot of boiling water, let it boil for 10 minutes if you've got a really bad cold and congestion. And then add a drop or two of peppermint oil once it's done boiling. Get a towel, stick your head over it, and start breathing that in. And it's antimicrobial, antiseptic, antibacterial. It's going to clean out the sinus cavities to keep you from getting a sinus infection. It's extremely beneficial. And that's a spiritual tool, because when we have sinus infections, our little radar up to the higher realms kind of gets cut down a little bit. It's harder to connect. And so we want to be clean and clear, and that helps. And even if you feel like you don't have a cold, but you're stuffy, try it.
Right.
It's really, really helpful. Be careful with peppermint oil, though, because it's a driver oil. It's very intense. If I put
you can go overboard with it real quick.
So
real quick, you'll go overboard with it.
Yeah.
And one of the things Arcana and Monica to realize too, it's one of the things I love about being in New England. Every time you turn a corner, this is the area where the country started, other than the indigenous tribes that were here. There's cemeteries around every freaking corner. Okay. And there's a lot of that is good energy. There's good people here. There's good things. Life happened here. There's a lot of residual stuff. So yes. And the hawk, Monica, is a great thing, and is known to travel between the realms and dimensions and things like that. So that's amazing,
Especially hawks are a sign that we're being protected.
Correct.
And, you may find that hawks become a pattern in your life. You may find that you'll see them when you drive often. They're protecting you. I had one over the weekend just fly really low and hit just like really low, like I could have hit my car. I mean, but it was like, so that was a warning to me that something's going on.
Right.
Yeah. And,
pay attention.
Yeah, and I've been to ECETI Ranch and spoken there a few times, and there's a lot of when we can switch up our spiritual tool belts, those tricksters, shapeshifters, they get less power because they don't know our pattern. I've got a lot of different tools in my tool belt. That's why we're talking about this. And I'm not predictable either. Because when we're predictable, the dark side will know, okay, they're going to do this, this, and this. And then we're going to punch through, create a fissure or a crack in your foundation. And now we can come in when we please, when you're not suspecting of things. So always mix this up. Another really good visualization technique is, this one takes practice. So, when you're laying in bed, trying to go to sleep and you're bored and you can't, try this. You're going to visualize yourself in your room. You're going to visualize a crystal ball, like from the 70s, right?
Right.
Okay. They all have these different mirrors on them, right? Mirrors return energy. So what you want to do is you want to create this disco ball with different frequencies in the mirrors, and then learn how to spin it slowly, because what happens is they can't match those frequencies. We have those little crystal, they're usually lab grown, those faceted balls.
Yeah.
You put them in the window and they have little rainbows all over the place. Those are a great tool to use in the house to deter negative energies, because they dance, those rainbows dance all over the house, and a rainbow is a color frequencies, all the frequencies within the rainbow. So that's a really good tool to use too.
Absolutely. And one of the things to remember here, folks, is these are all things that, again, you want to change it up. And you're talking about changing up. I was just laughing because I watched an old Tom Selleck movie, Matthew Quigley Down Under. And if you ever saw it, go back and watch it toward, when he meets the bad guy at the beginning, here, use my Colt, whatever. No, I prefer my rifle. And then at the end, he forces him to use a handgun, and quickly outdraws him and shoots him. And he's like, I thought you said, you didn't use it. He said, I didn't say I didn't use it. I said, I prefer, and I know I just butchered that, but that's exactly the same way. It keeps you sharp, keeps everybody sharp,
Yeah. And
thank you, Leanne.
Yeah, there's so many tools that we can use that are at our disposal, and the mental, spiritual tools, but also the physical tools. If you're dealing with a lot of heavy energies or negative entities, getting a really good scalar energy device in the home is really, really helpful. I've got a lot of them around here, and the source that I used to purchase them from, he actually, they're so effective, he had to quit selling them by order of the government. But there's a lot of them out there around the nation. Scalar energy devices are really good, but you want to find one that's good and works for you. And when it's physically in the home, it's self-perpetuating.
Right.
And scalar energy is basically sun energy. It's pure God source energy.
Here, and this is a good thing, like we say here, you're talking about Florida water, holy water, add it to the floor wash. Absolutely. But salt in the corners and time for calmness. Again, these are things for ourselves. And the salt in the corner. Remember, you can salt your home. Once you banish something and you truly want to banish it, remove it not just from the house, but from the property.
And
but if you want to make sure, you can actually go get bags of sea salt, whatever you want to do, and run a salt line all the way around your home. Now, again, one of the things we want to do when we banish it is to say, take it to where it needs to be so it can cleanse. It either needs to go back to its own domain or back to source so source can rectify whatever problem it is. Don't just kick it outside. Like I said, now it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden your grandkids come to visit, and guess who it goes home with? There is a responsibility when you're banishing something to give it an absolute direction of what you need it to go, where you want it to go, and that type of thing. Did I say that right, Laura?
Yeah, you did. And what I'll add a little bit more here. Bring in the archangels and have them deal with it, because it's above our pay grade.
Yep.
Right? Let's talk about mirrors for a minute. I know we got about 15 minutes left or so, but let's talk about mirrors. Mirrors are portals, right? They're portals. And a lot of times people will feel like energies and entities coming through back and forth through a mirror. There's an easy way to cure a mirror. If the mirror can come off the wall on the back side of it, and this concept actually is a derivation of Dr. Masaru Emoto, Messages from Water, Emoto, you look them up. Write the words love all over the back of the mirror, because now that low frequency being or entity has to come through the word of love, which is extremely high frequency. And if you're doing a home repairs or something like that, you're putting in new tile floors or painting the walls, have your whole family write down those words that are important, that are high frequency: love, hope, health, wealth, whatever those are, and just splatter it on. When you paint it over it, you can't see it, but the energy of those words is embedded and it lives on forever. And closing up mirrors can be a really hard thing to do sometimes. I'm going to make
one thing I want people to know too, and I found this to be completely true. You do not want, it's what I have found, I have seen. You do not want mirrors facing mirrors. Okay.
Correct.
That is an energy portal. You can create a portal with that energy. Have mirrors offset. You don't really like to see a mirror in a mirror. Okay.
Yep.
It's weird. If you go into Disney World, you walk into the mile-long saloon. Okay. You look at it, it's cool, but you notice nobody stays there very long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're
The
in, you're out.
energy is so
There's just something
right?
weird about yes. It's like that. Boom, whatever's happening. You know, and Monica, I know Gillian's flipping out right now because every time she sees a feather, it comes home. All right. And I'm like, you know, really? And she's like, that's my thing. It's what it was given to me for a reason. So again, it's up to each person. Me, if I see a feather, sometimes I'm like, you know, I don't know if that's got mites in it or whatever. Gillian with her faith, no, it's you know, it's going home. It's going on the dash. It's going whatever. So you got a sister there in Gillian with that thing. But the mirrors are very important. Okay. One of the things you want to look at if you feel like something is using a mirror, walk up to a mirror. There are 2 different kinds of mirrors, if not 3. All right. If you put your finger on the mirror, and you'll see a bunch of stupid ass TikToks right now. Okay. Because most mirrors you have in your bedroom, okay, they'll be like, see, they're watching you because you can see your own finger, the end of your finger. Okay. Because the reflective surface is at a different level. All right. Whereas you can get a pure mirror that when you walk up to it and touch it, you will not see the piece of your finger that's touching it. So glass and these things, and they all have properties. They all have different energy levels. Everything we have, we touch, we make, we create, we love, we hate. They all have different purposes, different vibrations, and can be used for some great things. You can use mirrors to move things away. You can use mirrors for some pretty ugly things too. Okay.
Yeah,
It all comes back to intention.
Space Body is talking about TV screens. When I go to a hotel room, I'll cover the TV screens with towels because I know they can travel through there. But back to mirrors, I want another cure that we can use for mirrors. If you have a mirror that you feel is a portal of some sort, you can write the words on the back side of it. On the front side, if it's still not working, get a Sharpie. By the way, if you write on your mirrors with Sharpie, Windex will take them off. So it's not, if you're renting a place, or don't worry about it, it'll come off. But this is my mirror. And you can see I'm doing a green screen. So this is my mirror. And I take a Sharpie and I'm going to color in the corners like that with a Sharpie and fill it in. This shifts the angles of the mirror and it closes the portal. If those 2 elements still don't work for you, take the mirror outside, put it in a garbage bag, and break it. You're breaking the magic.
Yep.
No mirror is worth the hassle of night terrors and those other things. So,
be careful what you have in your bedrooms and around you when you sleep. Just because it's pretty and it's a crystal doesn't mean it needs to be in your bedroom.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So know that there's many things we can do. At the same time, if it still doesn't work for you, get rid of it. Don't put it to Goodwill. Don't give it to your not so favorite aunt. Throw it away.
And take it outside, take it to a dumpster, take it somewhere. If it's giving you that vibe, and I had this with a book. I was in Bible college, believe it or not, reading a horror book, and there was a picture on the back that I felt like was changing shapes. And at 2:00 in the morning, I called my minister father at that point and told him about it just to see if he was going to go, "You're nuts." Okay. He said, close the book immediately, tear off that back cover, put it in the middle of the book, and go outside. I don't care if you get detention for being outside, and put it in a dumpster away from you. I did that, walked back in the house. went right back to
Yeah.
sleep.
You can
You
even
know,
burn it if you have access to burning it. Yep.
yeah,
Or
which I
tear the
did,
pages up,
but
right?
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalie, I am so glad you came in because
Hey, Nat.
I have an email for her and I lost her first name. And so I haven't been able to find it. So I will send you this email tonight.
Good deal. Good
Yeah.
deal. Let's see what we've got here, and then we'll start. Also, eat some ginger. Be careful with the ginger. You can get some wicked heartburn from eating too much, but yes, it's good for you.
It is
It's
ginger
good for
tea,
you.
right? You can add some to your tea a little bit. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I actually will have to maybe bring her on, but I have a colleague who is creating frequency teas and they work. She's imbuing the tea with certain rife frequencies and she's getting the she's using plants to feeds the tea with the infused tea water and they're growing faster and living longer. It's crazy. So what we're doing here is we're trying to shore up our auric field. We're trying to just make ourselves stronger, create a healthier soul, and just do the best we can do.
Natalie's saying here, I've had 2 major cleanses in my home, but energies are intensifying. They're fighting back. Okay.
Okay.
And I wanted to say I had a good feeling. And what do I get is the ace of feathers. Now I'm going to bring it up here rather than, I'll go here. Okay. It's Billy Goat. Feathers is about the mind, Natalie. Okay. And what this is saying is you haven't rooted out the source. Could you, in your mind, be worrying about this? Just what I said earlier. I don't know if you saw it, and be actually manifesting something and feeding it by looking for it. I don't know. That's a
And it could
possibility.
be even more. And Natalie, I'm pulling up your email right now. So there you go. Yes. So I couldn't remember her first name, and I've been searching through my emails forever. So we'll send you an email here as soon as I can, and we'll work on this. Okay. Perfect.
Good. Because there's something there. Whoever's doing the cleansings and stuff, they haven't gotten to the source.
You have to get to the root cause.
Yes.
And
That's the
that
ace of
can be
feathers. This
hard.
is the beginning. And there's something there that you have not, they're missing it.
So
And you can move an entity or energy away, and it will slowly fold back in like a tide.
or they
Okay.
bring their friends in. So if
Yes.
I'm removing entities and I don't get their bosses and their bosses' bosses and that hierarchy, new ones will move in. It's the same concept. I clean my house, but I leave my windows and doors open. Well, the new rats and mice come in and stuff. Same concept. So we want to get to the source. And a lot of times with reptilian energies and entities, they will leave behind eggs or other devices that get implanted and go dormant, and then they come back. So we're going to work there in the very near future, Natalie. I'm really glad that you emailed because I felt so bad that I literally couldn't find the email. So thank you.
And this is one of those things where I want you to see this is the ace of feathers. So we're talking about in our mind and the logic in that area, but it's communication, but it's a billy goat. And what keeps happening is you keep ramming your head into this because you want it to go, but you're not getting to the right area. Laura's going to help you
We're
find
going to do that.
area.
We're going to have some fun there, Natalie.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. And Ginger helped my acid reflux yesterday. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. All right.
Question for Venus. How did she use the ginger for the acid reflux, just in case somebody else has something like that going on? If she doesn't mind sharing. Was it a tea?
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing, just type it in real quick.
Yeah.
Right. And say with that. So with that, while we're waiting on her to respond, Laura, you got anything else we want to touch on real fast?
I think there's so many tools, so much variety. We have access now more than we've ever had, period. And so we have to know, we have to understand that we're not one size fits all. If
Correct.
something is working for Reverend Rob and it doesn't work for me or vice versa, it doesn't mean the tool doesn't work. It just doesn't fit our frequency field. And when I say that, it's not that we're having a contest over who has the highest frequencies. It's just that we're all different. If we're all the same,
No.
we'd be robots, right?
You know, we said earlier, there are times I use crystals with pendulums there, but you don't like them, and not you don't like them, but you don't use them because, again, they do. You're right. They put off, but I have like a slew, and there are many times, just like I'm picking a deck, where I will use a crystal on a pendulum, but I've gotten enough where it's like, okay, I'm not stuck with the same crystal. Okay.
Well, and
And
yours and my work is also very different, right?
yes, that's true.
I mean, it just is. And so, again, what works for you or what works for Venus or Arcana or Deborah or anybody, it may not work for somebody else. And it doesn't mean that it's not, except for Sage. Sage is just given way too much power.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's not used properly.
It's not used
It's not
properly. Yeah.
used properly at all. Everybody
So,
thinks, oh, Satan's in my life. Let me wave a sage stick around. Yeah, okay. That
yeah,
works.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
not
I have to look at that Space Cadet Lottie because I haven't heard much about that, but I heard a little bit, but I didn't dive into it.
right.
Um, yeah, we'll have to check
So,
into that.
and Natalie, if you want to do a session with me, that's fine. Okay. It's not going to interfere. But let Laura and you talk that out. Okay. Because
We're
again,
gonna
I'm
talk
going to
in the
go
next
more
few days.
internal
Yep.
and on a guide and that type of thing. We're going to get with the mental part of it. And some of that might be uncovered or whatnot.
We're
And
gonna find out.
then so
Yeah.
if you will, Laura, talk to her about that. And if she needs to, just book a session.
No,
Okay.
we're just gonna nail it out in the next day or two. And
Yeah.
Ginger Lodge is just thank you, Venus. Appreciate that.
Now, Laura, don't you have some um events coming up?
I do. I'm gonna be at Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And very excited about that. I'm going to be talking about soul health, what we do, how the negative entities, the reptilians, etc., impact our lives, even if we don't see them. They do impact us, and how do we get around that, and how do we move up and out from that? So I've got that coming up, and I've got a few other events as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
glad to see it. So Laura and I will talk about this. I think this is a good thing. Maybe we do need to address it and talk about it. I know a lot of people are worried about it. And let's see, so Laura, let you and I talk about that this week, and maybe we
Perfect.
can hit on this next week or whatnot.
Yeah.
Actually called Ginger Chews. That's
Very nice.
awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. I've also removed mirrors from my home and had them crushed and removed. See that? Now you're doing the thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Taking that extra step. All right. Taking that extra step. Folks, again, in my link, you will see there are tickets. I am going to be live at the Off Cabot Theater on February 23rd at 4 p.m. You can buy tickets there. If you're in the New England area, come by. I'd love to see you. Everyone, we're making a promise. Might be a little bit of a longer evening. We start at 4, but we're going to try to make sure everybody gets a reading. Okay? Everybody gets a reading. It's going to be live. But folks, I know some of you are like, well, I can't get to New England. We're going to try to also broadcast it once the show gets started and tickets are sold. We're going to see then if we can't put the whole show live on the YouTube channel. So you won't have to miss it that way. So, those are some things that we all have going on. Laura's classes, go to my link tree. Okay. Her spiritual self-defense classes, you can find them right there. Click on them in my link tree. It's right there. Her links to her book, my books, Gillian's books. We've got so much stuff there.
We're gonna do. I'm gonna interrupt you. I'm sorry about this, Rob.
No, go right ahead.
This Friday, it would be the 17th of January. I'm doing a live event on Zoom. It's in my social medias. You can scroll through it, the Karmic Path or Laura Van Tyne. We're going to work on crossing over animals that died in the LA fires. And we're going to work on helping to clean and clear some of that really heavy energy there. So If you are so inclined, love to have you. It's going to be a big group event, and I'm just going to kind of lead everybody in how to cross over animals. So that will be Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, I think.
Yeah, and if you can be there, I don't know if I will be able to be there because of everything we've got going on, because I'm pretty drained right now. But also,
Yeah.
folks, I will be trying to put out another recording, another video on Tarot with an Attitude. So make sure you're hitting the subscribe and the like button and ring the bell. I'm going to try to have something come out Friday at 9 o'clock. So be ready to get that and receive that and see what's going on. But we did this back when the floods happened and was a part, and this was really powerful. So if you can be there, you don't want to miss it, and it is limited seating. Okay, it's not. So make sure if you get there, you get there early. Yeah.
It's free.
Okay.
Just go to my social media. You can find the Zoom link there, or So I'm excited to be able to share with people how to do this and to create. It's a huge public service as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about how many people look in the mirror or have looked in the mirror in your house. And we've talked about residual energies and things like that before. So Arcana, you bring up a very valid point. Very valid point. So everybody's saying thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was great. Any last words, Miss Laura?
No, just here's to a great week, the rest of the week.
Grab this week, folks. Grab this year. 2025 is the year to thrive. Okay, I'm not just rhyming here. I've said it over and over again. 2025 comes down to a 9. Okay, it's the manifestation year. All right, this is the year of the wood snake within the Chinese zodiac. But it's all dependent on you and your actions and what you want to do and where you want to go. We're going on the outward energy of the wolf moon, which is at first, and it's about setting your intentions. What do you want to let go of so you can bring in new stuff? Grab this for yourselves. It's there for you to grab hold of. You have to grab it, want it, desire it, and go for it. All right? So, with all that being said, take what you want, leave what you don't, but leave having experienced some peace, love, and light. Bang right.